Welcome to Planet 1390 Voyage. Today we have Mr. Steve Cato, an awesome wizard of graphic design. I hope to learn a whole bunch of other things about you today, but let's just go ahead and get started off by how are you doing today?
Really good, man. It's my day off. It's which is good. I like to do this kind of thing on my day off because otherwise I'm just thinking about work and what I've got to do. So it's
Yes.
nice to do this. I've had some downtime. I've been out all day walking around. The weather is actually pretty warm for the UK at this time of year. You probably wouldn't think it's warm, but it was about 15 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but that's
Yeah, I
for
wouldn't
this
even know
time
what
of
that
year,
would
that's
have to do.
pretty. Yeah, I'm not sure, but for this time of year, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. We'll take those. And it wasn't raining, which is
Yeah,
always a
no
plus.
cloudy skies, right?
There were clouds, but it wasn't raining. It
That's
wasn't raining.
beautiful.
They did great. So we take it.
All right, so I want to start from the bare basics of who is Steve Cato and how did he become an artist? Like, did you start off as a traditional artist or did you go straight into mostly digital art? How did that journey get started?
I'd say I've always been into drawing ever since I was a kid. It just was always something I did, and that was always traditional sketchbook. When we would go on holiday or go
Mm.
anywhere, my mum or dad would buy me a sketchbook and some pencils, and that was me. That and a Game Boy. I was done on any journey. I would just be sketching, then playing Pokemon, then sketching. That was it. That was where you could find me. So yeah, definitely knew I wanted to draw from a young age. Art in school was always something I was into. And then the digital came around much later. I think I think what started it all was skateboarding.
Mm.
Um, that just the moment I got into skateboarding was like an introduction to a whole world of culture I'd never seen before.
Okay.
Um, whether that was because skateboarding itself comes with like the music that comes with the videos that come with it, and then a lot of like graffiti and that kind of stuff. And I remember going into a skate shop and seeing a Banksy book when I was
Mm.
maybe like 14 and seeing all of Banksy's artwork and then getting interested in that kind of stencil style. And I remember looking up online how to sort of create that. And it was like Photoshop. You got to
Right.
learn Photoshop, go to Photoshop and take a picture and change it so you get that sort of look, and then you can make a stencil. And so I remember doing my college sort of art. Well, our college is before university. So when I was in like, that kind of 14 years old, um, our my art project, and I did like a bunch of canvases. And to do that, I had to play around in Photoshop and get used to that. So that was kind of my first introduction. And then from there, I was like, yeah, I like digital. I was like, I got to learn this. I got to sort of get into this a bit more. And I messed around with some 3D engines,
Wow.
and then eventually, um, one of my friends wanted to start making some t-shirts, some t-shirt graphics. And that was the moment where I realized, oh, people do this in Illustrator rather than Photoshop.
Right, right.
So then I was like, right, I'm going to need to learn Illustrator. What's this? What's this whole other thing? I'd always been just Photoshop, kind of drawing, painting in Photoshop. And then I realized Illustrator was a thing. And the second I started using that, I was like, this,
That's the one.
this is yeah, this speaks to me. This makes a lot more sense. I kind of enjoy that just a way of drawing with shapes and the pen tool and points in Illustrator and gradients. It just made a lot more sense to me. And I loved the way it was vectors, so I could draw in any
Hmm.
resolution and blow it up to any size and not have to worry about the constraints of Photoshop. And you end up with blurry edges and all this. I love
Agreed.
that sharp, crisp
Agreed.
feeling you got when you made something. And so that really spoke to me. That like skateboard decks,
Hmm.
that kind of artwork. It was always something I'd loved. And
Right.
it was kind of like, oh, I can make that now. I can make that style. I can make that sharp edge. And so, yeah, that was it. Then I was hooked. I just had to keep going, had to keep learning. And then eventually it just sort of all circled
It just
back.
formed into something new. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It just became, and then, I think a natural step of starting with big illustrations and things like that, I just sort of naturally progressed and until I saw logos and branding as an opportunity to almost dial the details of
And you're
illustrations
still
down.
and you're still about 14 and 15 around this age?
No, no, this is like over time. So,
Okay.
uh, so like when I was 14, that was kind of getting into Photoshop. Then me and my friend looking into making clothing. I was probably 21 by that point, so that was where I started to get into Illustrator and that kind of thing. And then getting into making logos, that's another,
So you know what?
probably another.
It's funny because I've noticed that the pattern of because graphic design has changed like crazy. Everything is
Yeah.
oversaturated now. And I feel like the masters of Adobe Illustrator, in my opinion, are better than the graphic designers who are just based in Photoshop. And the reason why I feel like that is because if you look at Illustrator, a lot of people who use Illustrator seem to start off traditionally. Like they started off drawing in their pads and all that. And I feel like Adobe Illustrator correlates with that same exact skill because you're illustrating and they just made it a computer version of it. And a lot of these new
Yeah.
artists start directly in Photoshop and they kind of just learn how to snatch. It's almost like they copy art instead of learning how to make their own art, if you get what I mean by that.
I do know what you mean. Yeah, yeah, I'd say like there can be some. I think Photoshop really speaks to um, people who like digital painting,
Mm,
and so I feel like those people sometimes they're very good at painting, and that translates well into Photoshop. But definitely, I know what you mean. A lot of artists that maybe make clothing designs or things like that in Photoshop, a
Photoshop,
lot of
exactly.
it a lot of it is using imagery that's already created
Exactly.
and putting effects and sort of blending it. There can be a lot less. Whereas in Illustrator,
It's
you've
yeah,
kind of
it's technical, very technical.
you've got to just build something from
Exactly.
shapes and strokes. So I do get what you mean. Yeah, I think there's like a mix, but yeah, Illustrator, yeah, it just spoke to me. And then when it comes to logos,
Hmm.
I think Illustrator is kind of a must,
Well, it has
really.
yeah, it is a must, especially when you start getting into manufacturing and industrial things. They
Yeah.
always need EPS files a lot of the time. So
Yeah,
yeah, so
yeah,
they need something as sharp as
precisely.
possible. But let's rewind
Yeah,
back. Like before you even
yeah,
got into digital, traditionally you used to draw all the time, obviously, right?
yeah.
What were your plans if you didn't? What do you think your plans would have been if you didn't get into digital art? Like comic books, like what were your plans? Were you gonna make poster design? What was going
Yeah,
on
I mean,
back then?
I tried a bit of everything, to be honest. That was it. It kind of falling into logos and brandings was just kind of where the natural progression ended up. But I think clothing was a big one that I still enjoy doing, is designing for like clothing brands and stuff like that. That is something I'm really into and passionate about. Um,
Mm,
yeah, posters like CD designs, music
mm.
designs. But then that's the thing, is I can still do that now. I
Yeah,
can
you can.
still branch out and do that. I don't have to just stick to logos and branding all the time. And I don't. I like to, if someone comes to me with a weird project and they're like, dude, I'm making a watering can and I want a cool graphic for the side of it, or like a
Yeah,
packaging for
anything.
work. I'm like, yeah, okay, that sounds cool. If you want to make something, well, I say I hate, but I really don't like to do corporate stuff.
Oh my gosh, I'm
Anything,
so glad you brought that up.
yeah, yeah, anything too corporate, I don't. It, unless I have to enjoy the process a little bit myself. Otherwise, you're not going to get the best out of me. You won't get the because if I'm not into it, I'm not going to
Bro,
put 100%. It's not going to
agreed.
spark. You
And
know.
from seeing your art, I think the reason why you don't like corporate as much is because corporate, in my opinion, takes away color a lot of the time, and they
Yeah,
use way
yeah,
more photography, right? So
yeah,
it's less room for creativity and actually being able to draw
mm,
something out and branded, especially if you're doing it for a hospital.
yeah,
Like they're as minimal as possible a lot of the times.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
completely get that. But
yeah.
as far as a designer, how did you develop your style? And most importantly, how in the world did you learn all these ins and out of these programs like this?
Yeah. Um, Developing style, I think, is just something that comes from. the collection of your experiences, everything you're seeing, you're taking in. Like I said, skateboarding was massive to me, and so that opened up all these different brands and artists and music. And you see an album cover that you like, and you think, I love that style, I love those colors. You bring that in, and then it's about you just kind of taking all of that and converting it almost, like a tree, just taking
Hmm.
it in and
Agreed.
putting it out as something different. And just over time you start to try things. I think that's the important thing. Style changes over time. Like my style has
Agreed.
changed, and I think that's important. It needs to change, it needs to evolve, and sometimes you'll find yourself in almost like an era, like
Hmm.
an arc where you're
Hmm.
doing, you're working with a lot of skulls. Maybe you're really into skulls. It was your skull arc, and you did loads of stuff with skulls, and you become known for that. But I think if you just do that forever, it gets stale, and so you need to eventually kind of, you lose, and you're like, oh, I'm really into this now, or I want to try this. So yeah, I think that's the important thing with style. You've got to always be
Working.
taking in new things. Yeah,
Right.
looking at your surroundings, taking new things in, and things that resonate with you. If it resonates with you, bring it into your style, try it out. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if it does, then that's when your style starts to evolve. And what was the other thing? Oh yeah, how did I
Hmm.
learn Illustrator? That is just trial and error, almost like entirely. I never was taught Illustrator. Like I said, I wanted to make a t-shirt design, and it was like, right, so I need to use Illustrator.
Right.
Everyone's
Right.
saying I've got to use that. So YouTube tutorials to start with, sort of play around a bit, YouTube tutorials, figure that out. This was, back a while ago now when there wasn't so many YouTube tutorials, but there were enough
Right.
to sort
Right.
of teach you the basics. Um, and then it was just pure trial and error. Like okay, I want to make this. I'd see an artist that was clearly using Illustrator, and he'd done something, some sort of effect, and I'd think, how on earth has he done that? And I'd sit there for hours. Okay, I'll try this. Okay, I'll try this tool. Okay, I'll try that until it worked, and I got the effect. And then I'm like, now I know that. Now I've learned that. And over time, started to develop techniques of my own, which I've never really seen other people use. And so that's why I've been putting out some videos recently of kind of going over some of those
Oh, I
techniques
watched them.
that, yeah, yeah. Well, thank you, man. Um, and so, yeah, that's actually been, yeah, that's been a really fun sort of recent journey this year that I've been going on, is sort of making some videos, and because everything's shifting
Yeah,
towards video
absolutely.
content,
Absolutely.
which is kind of difficult to begin with if you're not if you've never really experienced in making video content.
Right.
It
Right.
can be a difficult shift, which at first I think my natural reaction, I think a lot of artists' natural reaction is to push against it
Yeah.
and be like, we just want to make art and post it, and
Yep.
I just want to make images and post it. But I actually think the exercise in learning something new, like video production, and making videos, is something that's beneficial for anyone in this day and age. In the way things are
It,
going,
it only
um,
sharpens your sword
yeah,
even more. That's it.
it does. Yeah, 100%. I think, and it also it's taught me different ways of editing, and it's got me excited about um, some new ideas I've got flowing in my brain now. Okay,
Right. Right.
I'm going to take some of the more one-dimensional imagery that I'm making, and animate it, and how can I present it in an interesting way with different video effects and different camera angles and things like that. Um, so yeah, it's exciting
So take me
to
back to when you were confident enough in your graphic design skills to begin Cato Design Company. Because there's always that point.
yeah, yeah. You're right. It was just kind of a leap of faith. It was kind of a
Mhm.
point. It was just before COVID, funnily enough, maybe about 4 or 5 months before COVID happened. So sort of later end of 2019. And I just thought, I had a lot of people telling me like, your stuff is really cool. And
Mhm.
this was more illustrations. So this wasn't even logos and stuff like that. This was more like t-shirt illustrations and stuff like that. And I was showing various people and stuff I'd made before that got printed, and stuff I made for friends. And I had enough people sort of tell me, your stuff is really good. You should maybe pursue this or do this, that it just clicked in my head. I was like, well, I've got to try it.
Right.
I've got to
Right.
try it. Um, so I sort of got enough. um, money saved to be like, right, I can for 6 months just do this, you know?
Right, right.
I don't have to think about anything else. I can just not work on anything else but this. I can put 100% into this
That's awesome.
for the next 6 months, you know? And if I get enough traction, and I get enough to like cover my bills and survive on,
Right.
I was like, I don't need to have any luxury for the next year or two. Like as long as I can get enough to pay the bills and do it through art, I was like, that's it. You're winning at that point. So I was like, let's just try it. Let's give that a go. And it worked out. It kind of kept going. It kept snowballing. It was definitely hard to begin with finding clients, but honestly, after
And
that
that's
first six,
exactly what I was about to ask you. Is like,
yeah,
okay, as a brand new business starter, right? You
yeah,
develop your style, you develop because that's another hard part for artists is developing something enough. You brand for everybody all day. You can create something for somebody
yeah,
else,
yeah,
especially because they give you your own content to basically draw from, right? But for you, when it came to presenting yourself as Cato
yeah.
Design Company, like what was the process of how do I want to present myself to even attract these clients, and what procedures did you take to even start getting the clients?
For me, at that point, I was like, I can be either an overthinker
Mm,
or someone who just does, just goes for it, head down, move forwards. And I was like, in that moment, if I spend too much time thinking about how am I going to name this, how am I going to brand this, how am I going to do this, these
you'll
six
never
months
get
are
it
going to
done.
be over real quick. Yeah, I'm going to
Never
be
get it done.
6 months down the line. Yeah, I won't
Agree.
have even got the name up or anything. So I was like, all those decisions have to be made like this. And the thing that's going to work for me is just design. Just
Right,
wake
right,
up, do it, put it out, get people seeing it, get people talking about it, get feedback. And just the quicker I move on that, I can think about everything else later. I can think about how it's going to look. I can think about polishing up the website. I can think about all these things a little bit further down the line. But I was like, I need to just get something moving.
right, right.
So that was it. Just get it going, and then over time, sort of honing it in more and focusing because the first stuff I did was all t-shirt illustrations. I
Oh,
guess it
okay,
was
okay.
mostly just it's that because that's what I knew. Um, but then as I went, I sort of really found a passion for logos because it's almost like the same thing with an illustration. It's like you're conveying what the brand wants
Mm-hmm.
in this big detailed piece, and you've got all of these details you can play with and all of this space
Right,
you
right.
can play with, and that's fun. But what a logo is, it's the same thing, just condensed right down into its
Exactly.
absolute base form. It's like convey all that information in as little detail as possible. And I really enjoyed that process of
Yeah, that's
kind
what
of
makes you great.
taking,
Yeah.
yeah, I was kind of taking what I was doing before and just squashing it all down and trying to convey that same message, but in much less. And I'm still learning to sort of hone that in and play around with that. But that I really enjoyed. So yeah, that was kind of the natural progression. And then yeah, honestly, then COVID hit. So that first six
Hmm.
months, everything went pretty well, and I found clients through social media. It was all through social media. Nothing
That's
else,
good.
some word of mouth and some local clients that I was
That's
just
awesome.
trying to get. But mostly, yeah, just like I'd say 80% plus social media.
And basically,
And
from
yeah,
I'm sorry to even interrupt you, but from your
no, go, go, go.
from your experience, how long do you feel like is a because you have a lot of graphic designers out there that always are worried about even getting started, and
Yeah.
wonder how long of a period does it take before they start actually making some type of profit or getting their name out there? Like, do you think do you have an estimated period of time based from your experience that you think it takes before success starts to come?
I think everyone's journey is so different.
Definitely.
I'd love to say like it could be this way or that, but sometimes I see people come out the gate with just a really good presence, and the algorithm likes them, and it just takes them from 0 to 100 real quick. And but then I think it does depend. You've got to have um, gotta have the skills to pay the bills. Like
Yeah, you do.
sometimes that can happen. It can take you from there to there real quick. But if you don't have the skill set, maintaining that level over time will become difficult. So I think sometimes it can be good if it takes a while because that gives you time to hone
To really
your
get better.
craft.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
I think there's several sort of pillars you've always got to be working on, and I think the one underpinning everything is skill, because ultimately what we're doing is we're selling a skill. We're selling our
Exactly.
skill as a designer, and if you're not constantly working on that and trying to improve it, then after a while it'll become stale.
Then
You
it'll start
might
feeling
no
like
longer have
work.
a skill. Yeah, it'll start feeling like work. And yeah, if all the jobs are the same because you haven't been maybe improving that skill or changing it for a different style. Like I said, making videos has it's reignited a bit of a different passion in me
Mm,
that, because I've been sitting down making logos for the last 5 years every day.
right, right.
Um, Now on days where I'm like, oh, I'm filming today, I get a little like
You get a little
it's
excited.
good. Yeah. And then I can have a day where I'm filming and then the next day I come in and I'm back to logos. It's like, oh, good. Yeah, I'm ready for
Right,
this
right.
again, because I wasn't doing it all yesterday. So I think those kind of things are important. You should just always be looking for something different and don't get, yeah, just don't get swept up in it. You just always focus on improving your skill. But yeah, like you said, I just don't think there is a time frame. I think you just keep going. If you can, everyone's got different situations. So if you're doing it part time or just in your spare time and you're working another job, you just keep at it, just keep
Agreed,
creating
agreed.
and don't stop putting it out there. Don't be afraid to put it out there. You have to get feedback. You have to put it in front of as many eyes as possible. That's how you're going to get discovered. Try something new. Don't try the same thing all the time. If it's not getting you anywhere, just try something completely different,
Agreed, agreed.
Um, just keep pushing. But that is the amazing thing. And I think the thing which a lot of people need to keep in their mind is we live in an age, we live in a time now where it's never been easier for you to
Present
do something
yourself,
you're
right?
passionate about. Yeah,
Exactly.
put it out there and get the opportunity to do the thing you're most passionate about as a
Exactly.
job.
Exactly.
It's never been, it's not easy, but there's never been more opportunity for it than there is now, ever.
Now
So,
let's get into some nerdy stuff. I completely agree
yeah,
with you.
please.
Let's nerdy. Let's get nerdy.
That sounds good. That
Because
sounds good.
that's mostly what this podcast is about. It's like talking to creatives, but obviously I'm a
Mm,
collector, right? So I just
I can see.
want to know like what are your favorite fandoms? Like what has
Wow.
inspired you? Well, I know Pokemon for sure.
You got
Besides
Pokemon over here.
yeah, so besides Pokemon, what are like your favorite cartoon shows, movies, TV shows
Yeah,
like growing up? What was
absolutely, dude.
inspiration?
I'm massive into movies and anime and TV. It's just
Awesome.
huge. Huge part of inspiration in terms of design and art as well. It's absolutely, yeah. Obviously, anime. Obviously, Pokemon. I think that one.
Absolutely.
It's like I think I know probably out of all the animes, it's probably the anime I've watched the least since I was a kid.
That's
Like
funny.
apart from the stuff I watched as a kid, pretty much up until maybe like the first movie, um, I've watched no more Pokemon. Yeah, it is definitely my biggest collection. Um, uh, Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon, that kind of stuff as a kid, and then older, yeah, pretty much every anime you can think of.
That's awesome.
I
Well,
think I've
what's your
watched them
favorite
all.
one then?
Oh,
You know,
so
you look
difficult.
because mine is Yu Yu
Favorite one?
Hakusho. So you gotta let me know at least one
Okay.
that's at the top of your list.
Okay, I probably like top five. Steins Gate is really high on my list. That was
I've
like
never
one
even
of the
heard of
first
that.
ones. Steins Gate, like go watch that after we
Wow.
finish. That's one of my absolute classics. It's just like a time traveling sci-fi madness. One of my absolute favorites. Um, Recent ones that I've really been into. Jujutsu Kaisen was
Oh
amazing.
man, yeah, that was
Uh,
awesome. That
really
one is
enjoyed that.
awesome. I will
Yeah,
say I
really
was
enjoyed
disappointed
that.
with the last season though because of a you could tell
Yeah,
they
yeah,
rushed everything and
yeah.
everything was
Which
unfinished and rushed.
Yeah, which was a shame because some of those fight scenes,
Were
you really
amazing.
want to see it finished,
Right.
like to full quality. Um, yeah, that was big. This is I was blank when I'm trying to think. It's just so many in your head. Um, which other ones I really enjoyed recently? Well, currently I'm on my third attempt of getting through One Piece. So this is the third time I'm trying. So yeah, there's a lot of
Bleach,
One Piece to get through.
yeah, Bleach and One Piece.
Yeah,
Those feel like endless sagas. And
yeah,
it's funny
yeah.
because One Piece is taking a hiatus right now, so thank God. But it's
Oh, it's
still
gonna be some time to
yeah, it's gonna be
catch
about
up.
six months. They said it's gonna be about for hiatus, but the
Yeah.
point is you still won't even catch up in 6 months probably. So
No, I was gonna say I'm gonna need about 2 years if to get there. Yeah,
agreed.
at the rate I'm getting about one or two in a day at most,
Yeah,
and I'm about oh God, I'm only at like 200, so I've got a long, long way to go on
yeah,
that
yeah.
one. Funny enough, I finished Bleach last year,
Oh, awesome.
um, so I finally did Bleach, Demon Slayer, all of those I've done. But yeah, endless anime, and then in terms of movies, wow. I love everything, like a bit of everything. I really just as long as it's. I mean, there's so much rubbish
Oh
being
yeah,
put out these days.
especially
A
these
lot of
days.
a
Especially
lot
these
of
days.
trash. I'm big into horror. I quite like horror thriller. So like Ari Aster, like Hereditary, Midsummer,
Oh,
that
okay.
stuff I really really like. I recently watched The Substance. I don't know if you've watched that. I
The substance.
don't. If you're not into horror or gore, I don't recommend it. But it's a
Well,
good movie.
lately, for some reason this year, my wife has been getting me a little bit deep into it because I honestly hate horror,
Okay.
and but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's something that still uh, I've been watching it this year. Let's just put it like that, especially for
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
October, and I'm starting to learn,
Yeah.
like especially since I've been getting deep into fandom and all this stuff. Like I
Yeah.
told my wife the other day, and she kind of looked at me crazy, but I was like, wow. These horror guys are kind of like dark superheroes for horror fans. Like
Sure. Yes. Yeah. It's
Freddy,
true. Like
Jason. Oh,
Jason,
I was like,
Freddy. Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
just like because they're singular horror figures like Art the Clown from Terrifier, all of this stuff.
Yeah.
They're pretty much dark superheroes. So I was like, I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
deal with it now. I couldn't. I still I'm not a fan of demons and all that stuff. But unless it's in anime, then anime they make it really cool
Yeah. Yeah.
to look at
Yeah.
demons and stuff. But yeah, I look at
Yeah.
it completely different now. I don't. I'm not as I guess hard about horror no more. But
Yeah, that's a good
yeah.
point. I never thought about that because you have like Freddy versus Jason. It's
Absolutely.
kind of like Superman versus
Yeah.
Spider-Man
Batman,
or whatever.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, Superman versus Batman. Yeah, it's yeah, you definitely get those kind of things. I've never thought about it like that, but that's true. Yeah, those are like classic horror. I like movies that kind of just put you on the edge of the seat. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that's what I enjoy about it. When
Have you
you
seen
come out of it. Go
I'm sorry to interrupt. Have you seen that show From?
Yes, yes. The
Ooh,
new series actually just I
ooh.
haven't watched any of the new series, but the first two, that's the kind of stuff I
I
like
love it.
horror mystery. Yeah,
Yes.
that's perfect for me. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. From is good. It's kind of reminds me a little bit of the early days of when Lost, the mystery of something like
Same
Lost,
writers.
when there's yeah, oh there we go. Yeah, that
That's
explains
funny,
it. That
right?
explains
Same
I think
writers.
that explains it perfectly. And it's Walt from Lost is the main
Exactly.
character in
Ex
it. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
that is hilarious.
Yeah.
So, as
Yeah,
far
I
as
really
Steve
like that
Cato
stuff.
Designs Company, right? The Cato Designs Company.
Yeah.
What else? I know you're a graphic designer as a whole, but what else do you see coming out of the future of Steve
Mm.
Cato Design Company? Like what merch? Like what else is next? Because I'm sure you have a million clients by now.
Yeah, I got a lot of plans. A lot of plans. It's I'd say the main thing for me right now is I'm really kind of focused in on doing broadening kind of the video profile of
Mm,
Kalo Design. Sort of broadening the video tutorials into something I can put on YouTube,
right,
something that's a bit longer form, because right now I'm just everything short form real content. And with that, I haven't really done too much in terms of face to camera, voice, that kind of stuff. It's mostly just set to music with some captions.
right.
I really really want to kind of the next level of tutorials, more in depth, fully explaining because I feel like the Instagram space for a lot of time. tutorials. Like I want to teach people. I actually want to educate them on how to use certain tools and do things like that. And I don't feel that short form content is always the best way to do it.
At all, not at all.
Um, yeah, and I feel like a lot of tutorials sometimes they leave out really important details, and probably some of mine are guilty of that as well. Because you have to be ruthless with cutting it down
And
and fitting
fast,
it in
yeah,
there.
exactly.
Yeah, so I'd really like what I'm working on now is sort of exploring longer form video content, and I'm really excited about putting that together, and then eventually developing that into a fully fledged course because I'm just, I think about when I started learning Illustrator, I was learning it through YouTube. Um, there were just massive gaps in my knowledge that I've plugged over years of trial and error and figuring out myself and learning from other people and things like that. And I love to sort of put all that together, something that's really affordable that people could just maybe they don't have access to education about graphic
Hmm.
design or something like that.
Hmm.
They could pick up the course and learn everything, everything there is to know about Illustrator and give practical examples of how they could use that to set up their own business.
Well,
Yeah, I'd really love to put that together.
I think you're higher than Skillshare. And I mean, I don't mean to say that to be rude to the people that are on Skillshare at all, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
feel like you're on masterclass level. So you might want to go ahead and start practicing the video that you want to put out
yeah,
because the
yeah.
minute you really put some tutorials out, you'll be able to sell it like crazy. I'm pretty sure.
I
And
hope so, man. I
even
hope
your
so.
short form, like I understand you're not able to put all the details in there that you want to, but even like I didn't even know how to do like the shadow, the 3D shadow
Yeah, yeah,
where you do I forgot what I think it's in blend mode or something like where you can extend the
yeah,
shadow. I didn't even know that for a long time, so I would always like kind of like move the back layer, turn it black, and
yeah.
then kind of draw the lines in. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't have to do
drawing.
that no
Yeah,
more.
that's
Yeah.
that's that's what I did the first time I wanted to
Yeah.
make that effect. That's it. You pick up these things as you go. Um, and then if I'm honest, I don't even do it with the blend mode anymore. I do it a completely different way.
See
But that's
another
like,
whole way.
yeah, there's always something more you can teach or learn. But yeah, that's something I really want to do and put that together and so yeah, really this year that's going to be a big goal of mine is creating that content. Well, next year. I feel
Hmm.
like we're almost in 2025 at this point. But yeah, the end of this year, YouTube stuff like that, and then next year, really kind of building that course, putting that course together, putting that out there, and making it something I'm proud of. I don't want to rush it. I don't want it to
Hmm.
be like I need to get this course out. I've got clients, I've got work to do, I've got all of that to crack on with. It's
Hmm.
something very much I want to work on in the background in my own time and make it as good as it can be, and put it out there. And then once it's made, I kind of like the idea of, okay, I've made a product now, that I can keep out there that people can keep coming back to, that can help maybe partner with, some educational universities, colleges, or something like that, and see if, like offer it for discount to students that
Right, right.
maybe on a graphic design course. Because I know people that did graphic design degrees, and they spent very little time actually learning Illustrator
Exactly.
and learning
You
things like
don't,
that. They spent a lot
especially
of
when you're trying
time.
to get
Yeah,
work. Yeah, you don't learn it. You
yeah,
don't, even in school. Like I feel like I've learned more from you and a few other artists on Instagram than I've
mm,
ever learned. And I didn't even go to school for graphic design, so
yeah,
it's a special thing to see that you have people that start doing short form that get you across certain humps and things that you need to learn in
yeah.
graphic design faster now. But I do like long form. I'm over 30, so I definitely am still a
Yeah,
long
yeah.
form
Me,
person.
me
Yeah,
too. Me too.
yeah,
Exactly. I'm a long form all day long. And that's kind of why I want to get into it. Instagram made sense because I already had
yeah.
the following on Instagram, and it's a good place to start. But really translating that, I'm going to try and push that following over to YouTube, at least some of it, and garner a new following over there. And honestly, I prefer to explain something slowly and with a bit more information, so yeah, I just need to figure out that process because filming and editing videos is long.
Yes,
It's
it
not
is. It
not
is
quick.
very long and
It-
annoying. I do not like
it's
editing.
yeah, it's very long, and so I think it's important to find the balance between quality and quantity, and so I need to find what is a format I can make quickly, that still is has enough quality to get it across, but doesn't take me too long. So I'm just kind of toying with that right now. And I'll release some videos and see what the feedback is, and then maybe change that balance just to figure one out, and then hopefully be able to release at least 1 or 2 videos a week on YouTube as well, and chop those up and maybe put them as shorts and sort of build that. Yeah, build that. That's the next chapter in Kato
Awesome.
Design Now. That's the next plan, which I'm looking forward to.
That's awesome. As far as your career, what commissions have been the best that you've ever received or the most highlight of your career? And what
Yeah,
commissions could you imagine getting one day that you feel like would really make you feel extremely successful?
what I'd love to get. Yeah. I mean, I still feel like there's so much I'd love to tackle. Um, in terms of things that I really enjoyed so far, I like it when I get a brand that's something completely different.
Hmm.
Something really out there. I've been working with a golf brand over the last couple of years, um, called Birdie Boss, that I really enjoy what we make together because I get a lot of creative freedom, and he's given me sort of permission to explore like different ideas that I've really enjoyed. Like we did some Happy Gilmore, which is one of my favorite movies growing up. We did some patterns inspired by Happy Gilmore and stuff like that.
That's
So
pretty
that's
cool.
and Back to the Future as well. We did some Back to the Future designs. So I really like that because I never know what I'm going to be doing. It's the same company each time, but we could be working on some Star Wars inspired designs or something just completely out there. I love those kinds of jobs where it's not just like, hey man, we just want this same thing over and over again. It can just get a little monotonous, and you don't really feel like you're pushing yourself. Um, so yeah, I mean, some of the last things we made together, he was just like, I've never seen you make anything like this. I don't know if you can make this, but I want to try this style. And I was like, I've never tried that style before, but we're going to make it happen,
That's awesome.
and we did. Like we just sort of figured out how to do it together, and made that. So yeah, that kind of stuff is a real highlight for me. I love those kind of jobs, and I've had those with a bunch of different companies that have come to me and just said, we like you, we like what you do, free reign on this. But in terms of something I'd love to do, skateboards, man, it's still
Oof.
something I've
Oof.
just not gotten the chance to kind of get in there and work with a big skateboarding brand or any skateboarding brand. It's just not, sometimes it's just not what you get in front of you. And there's definitely part of me that eventually will start to hunt it out, when
I
I
was about to
just
say
get that
you should
itch.
definitely be
Yeah.
able to contact them with your art and the type of
Yeah.
portfolio that you have. I do not think they would deny you, even if it's just like a capsule collection. That would be sick.
Yeah.
And somebody that I imagine you working with directly is Palace Skateboards. They would be
Palace. Yeah.
crazy.
Palace. Cool.
Palace,
Yeah.
chocolate, bird
Yeah.
cake,
A
I think it's a
chocolate.
birdhouse, all of that.
Birdhouse. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Element is one of my favorites
Oh
from
yeah.
back in the day. So Element would be a dream. Um, and there's a lot of Powell Peralta I'm a big fan of. But I think with a lot of those bigger skateboarding companies, they kind of a lot of the time they've got their artists.
Yeah.
They're part
Yeah.
of like
Yeah.
they're part of the family, they're part of the team. So it can be quite difficult to break into. And then you've got like these two skeleton boards here were designed by Lincoln Design Co.
Oh,
And they do a lot of work with a lot of different skateboarding companies. So they've kind of got, you know, um, a lot of coverage there. But there's tons of skateboarding companies that I could eventually. So that would be the dream. I want to design some skateboards, man, and put them on my wall. That's what I want, because this whole house is covered in skateboards, and there's
that's awesome.
still some space along the stairs. Which you gotta. And yeah, my wife keeps telling me that they need to stop appearing in different places around the house.
That's how
So
wife. That's why I
yeah,
have all these pops in one room.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
lot, and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I still have a few that
yeah.
can't fit in this room. But you can't stop when you
Yeah,
want to collect.
you can't. You can't. It just keeps going. Yeah, skateboards. I guess skateboards were probably the first thing I started collecting, I guess.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so yeah, man, working for skateboard brands, there's probably a few others that I just can't think of off the top of my head, other things that are on my bucket list that I'd really love to design for, but that is one which I know I know I'll do it. I'll do it at some
No,
point.
you
I know
will. There's
100%.
no choice.
I
Even,
have,
but
yeah,
I personally think you need to design your own and just put them out as
yeah.
merch. Just do it.
You know what? You're not wrong, and that has also been a thought. And I like having that in the back of my mind that it's like, if it doesn't happen naturally, organically with a skateboarding company, that I could just make them.
Yeah,
I
you
could just
really
make them, put
could.
them out there, and even if I only make 50 of them, like that's cool. That's I just
Yeah, and
sell like a limited run of
I'm
50.
not sure the board making services out there in the UK, but over here they have this thing called boardpusher.com, which
Sure.
yeah, and they just and I know there's two different types of ways to print boards. They have the screen printing the boards, which
Mhm.
is like a longer lasting quality. Then they have
Yeah.
like a digital printing on top of it.
DTG. Yeah.
Yeah, DTG printing on it. So it's kind of like I really and I feel like DTG in a sense is harder because you have to adjust your files. Because you know how on
Yeah.
certain printers they print darker than what you have on your screen, and that's what's
Yeah. Yeah.
irritating. Versus if you have screen printing, they kind of match the color better.
I'm a big fan
So
of screen printing. I generally, when I design stuff for t-shirts and stuff like that, I'm always thinking screen print.
yeah,
I just screen print it, and I design for screen print. So probably that's what I would be looking at on a board. But I'd really love to do, something in this kind of, something really cool and out there. And there were when I was growing up, there was this guy in the town where I grew up in, and he had a clothing brand, and he laser etched some skateboards, like laser etching and some
right.
different graphics on there, which were really cool. So I've always wanted to kind of do something similar to that at some point. But yeah, man,
Well,
those are the dreams.
I'll say this because I don't want to hold you all day, but as far as skateboards, I do not think you need to be waiting at all. I That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
I don't think it makes sense because you have all this power to create your own worlds. You create it for people all the time, and I think it would be worthless to wait for somebody to come and give it to you when you can create it yourself as great as you are. So like
yeah, man. Thank you. Yeah, that's it's yeah, definitely. I gotta find the time, but yeah, putting it
exactly.
making some skateboards at some point, that's definitely on the bucket list. Absolutely.
So any final thoughts?
Dude, this was really fun. And what about yourself? We've spoken just about me,
Really?
you know.
Wow.
It's just about me this whole time. What about you? What about this collection behind you? Because Funko Pops is something that I've always seen, and I thought those are cool. But if I buy one, my wallet and space will regret it. So
I'm in that
I
place.
steered clear.
I'm in
Yeah,
that
I've
place.
steered clear of them.
And
Yeah,
and what made it even
you
worse, they
bought the
just came
first
out with
one.
another collectibles company called Thrill Joy, which is owned
Okay.
by Brian Mariotti, who was the ex-CEO of Funko. So he knows
Yeah, he
everything
knows.
that needs to
Yeah.
happen to snatch you back right back in, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. He knows
as far as
he knows the
Funko Pops,
algorithms that you.
yeah, exactly. My brother collected them in like 2000, real early, way before me, because I
Yeah,
didn't start until 2018, but he collected in like 2012, 2013. I used to hate them because I was like, why did they all
sure.
look the same? I used to collect action figures, so action figures had more articulation and comic
Yeah.
books. So like all that stuff had more detail. But when I finally realized how valuable Funko Pops are as far as all the licenses that they're able to acquire, I started to
Yeah.
love them. Now they kind of like suck my soul, man. They really did.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I've been doing art my whole life, so these things just they feel like I'm an only child. So all this
Sure.
feels like my brain on the outside of me. So
Yeah.
yeah, everything that I love is in these Funko Pops. Everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I do like about them is or something that's kind of drawn me in because at first I think I was the same as you. I was just like, what are these things? I don't
Yeah,
really get them. I don't really why are they everywhere? What are they? But then I think it's when you see them like the vast different IPs they have of just about everything you could
everything.
imagine. And then you're like and then you see one of something you really like,
Hmm.
something from a really obscure anime or a really obscure movie, and you're like, wow, they've got one for that. Oh, I kind of want that. And that's,
Yeah.
I like that they can appeal to such a wide range of collectors
Well, then
and
stay away from
and
them because as you can see up there at the
I
top,
will.
Pokemon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was looking up there. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You got the starters, some Pikachu's.
They have
Amazing.
everything, dude. Everything.
You got some cool ones. Wow. Yeah, yeah.
Everything.
So many of them. Yeah, man. No, I will stay away. I will stay away, but I like the
Stay away.
collection. I like the collection a lot. I mean, maybe one or two. You know, one or two couldn't hurt.
Now get
Just hearing the
for the
screen.
culture, you do want to get them, but I'm just giving you I'm serious. Like, as you already
Yeah,
know, with real
I
caution,
know. Yeah,
all that money you're
yeah,
making from designer will go straight to,
yeah. It goes straight
it's
to the
just
bottom.
the impulsive nature of most artists. We just love
Mhm.
the art and the inspiration behind it. So when we see
Yeah.
something directly, like for instance, there's a pop coming out that's coming out very soon of a TV show that I love from Cartoon Network, deep in my heart, Chowder. I don't know if you remember Chowder.
Chowder. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Man,
yeah, yeah.
they're finally coming out with Chowder, and that one is deep
Okay.
in me, like deep
Yeah,
like Daria.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
they always find a way to hit you. But
yeah.
again,
So you've got to have all of those.
yeah, I gotta have all of them. But again, I'll keep on stressing because I'm obsessed with skateboards myself. I didn't say that much, but I never had the courage to skateboard myself. I could not.
Sure.
I do not want broken bones. I do not.
Yeah.
I respect skateboarders to the utmost because you are a very brave person to do that. And skateboards are just for some reason very beautiful forms of art. I don't know why. They're just
Yeah,
beautiful, right?
yeah.
So I pray that I get to see some Kato design companies, even if you just create your own skateboard company.
Me too, man. Me too.
I
Yeah,
really hope you do it.
that's a dream.
And it's a dream that doesn't have to be a dream. It can be for real.
Yeah, it
And
could be a
I can't
reality.
wait to see
Make
that.
it happen. For sure,
Please,
man. No, I'll send a board your way, right?
please
The
do that and
first round.
autograph it.
You'll get one. Yeah, autograph it. You can have it at the top there behind your Funko
It'll be right
Pops.
back there. Yes,
Yeah,
sir. I'll make room
put it
for it. I
right back
promise
there. Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome, man. No, that'd be really cool. Yeah. Yeah, man.
you.
No, it's really interesting. So you make a lot of this stuff for the collector community. What sort of are you specifically focused in Funko Pops, or do you kind
No,
of
no, creatives.
all
Create.
of them?
So the
Just
thing about
yeah,
it is, that's a good question. And I've never even been asked this question because nobody's ever asked me questions, which is funny. Um, my whole thing is to create a world, right? And even if you look
yeah,
at my Instagram page, I kept a very minimum to the style of clean 8-bit. Like
yeah, yeah,
if
yeah,
you look at my page, it's like because you know how a design is. You want
yeah,
something to very much fit the exact same thing, like straight through the whole brand, right? So I thought of
yeah,
this 8-bit video game Funko Pop illustrated looking world, and I kind of like
sure.
meshed it into Planet 1390, right? So I'm
Yeah,
hoping that it looks like that when you look at it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
but that's design changes up a lot for me, but that I feel like I've kind of captured exactly what I wanted to as far as playing at 1390. And with that, and with all these licenses, the creative world is very blended together. Like
yeah,
it can be in sports, like just sports cards alone blends into Pokemon cards. You get what I'm saying? Like the world
yeah,
is
yeah,
blended. So I just want to
yeah.
interview everybody in the creative world that I care about, whether it's fashion, graphic design, photography, content making, drawing, painting, whatever, collecting,
Yeah,
and
I
put
like
them
that.
together.
I like that because a lot of I think these days a lot of people everything gets maybe a little too niched together.
Yeah.
And so it's like we're making a podcast that's just graphic designers. And
Yeah,
it's like,
no.
well, you know, sometimes I want to hear from a painter. Sometimes I want to hear from neither of those. I want to
Exactly.
hear from someone who's creative in a completely different way, you know, you create and also combining that with collections because I think every creative has like at least a small collection of
Of
something.
course.
There's there's something that really catches their eye,
Yes.
and their brain says, "I want more of that. Get some
Exactly.
more of those.
And you
Keep
can't
getting
help
me
it.
those." Yeah, and it just draws you in because you know, yeah. Funny enough, talking about it, I think of Pokemon cards as one of my main collections, but
Absolutely.
skateboards are another collection, which I
Yes,
didn't
they
even
are.
really think about. But I definitely collect. They're all over the place, and then there's probably a fair few other things as well, which I've collected, you know, just random little knickknacks and things that I
But you
like.
see what I'm
And if I
saying?
see
Like
more of them, I get
this
them.
alone proves, like you just said, everybody has
Yeah.
some collector in them, especially when they're creative.
So,
Because we're inspired
yeah.
by something. It would be kind of dumb to be an artist and to just stop being inspired and just make art based off of just what we see in our brain and not the stuff that
Yeah.
we are inspired by throughout the day. Because you love skateboards. You were inspired by
Yeah.
skateboarding. So There's only one
Yeah,
option.
bring it, put it around you.
You put it
Yeah,
around you
enjoy it then.
and make your
Enjoy
own.
it. Yeah, man. No, yes, and make my own. Definitely gonna do that. Definitely gonna do that. And stop buying more Pokemon cards. I think I'm close. I'm close to the. Well, I'm not close to finishing. It was one of those things where with the Pokemon when I first started, because obviously I had them when I was a kid, and
Right.
then I don't know what it was. I just one day I was just because my mum threw out. Well, she says she didn't, okay, but my collection disappeared mysteriously when I was a kid. So I think my mum threw that out. You know how it goes.
Man, I
Um,
think most parents that like most kids that came from like a kind of religious background, the parents just thought they
yeah,
were
yeah, oh, yeah,
demonic. My parents thought
yeah,
Yu-Gi-Oh,
demonic.
Digimon, all
Yeah,
that stuff demonic. So they just all my stuff
yeah,
that could have been valuable
that's
today. I
gone.
had the first Charizard
Yeah,
holographic. I had all that gone
yeah.
in a Pokemon
Oh God,
binder somewhere. So I understand.
that's it. Yeah, me too. I mean, I've got him back now. He's there, but he, I lost the one which I had before. He's gone somewhere in a landfill. But yeah, it was just I just had that moment where I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy one or two. You know, I'm just gonna buy
Absolutely.
one and just get it for nostalgia purposes, and then oh yeah, I may as well complete. You know, a little bit of this. I'll do base set. That was my first thought. I'll do base set. I'll do the original. You know, I'll do base set. And then after I did base set, I was like, well, Fossil and Jungle, you know, I'm gonna
Exactly.
do those. Right? I gotta have all 151. So I
I
did
need all of it.
those. And yeah. And then it just like, oh, but you know, Team Rocket, I forgot about those. Those were really cool. And then
See?
it just kept
Yeah.
growing and kept growing. So then it got a little out of hand. And then I was like, right, I need to dial it in a bit. So then it was like, right, I'm just gonna collect all of Wizards of the Coast because Wizards of the Coast stopped printing them. Um, after like the E series and then Wizards of the Coast, the Pokemon Company started printing them. So I was like, right, I'm just gonna do vintage. I'm just gonna do Wizards of the Coast. That's gonna be my sort of,
That's
you know,
awesome.
long term goal because they get real expensive as you get to like the end sets that they stop making.
Yeah.
They just keep going up.
We have
Weirdly
your
enough, the
CEO now
early.
too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she worked with Magic the Gathering Wizards. So
Okay.
now she's our
Yeah.
CEO. Christine
No way.
something, I think. I think her name was
Yeah.
Christine.
Okay. There you go. Yeah, yeah. They know how to make something that you want to collect.
Exactly.
So so yeah, man. So but I go through phases. I don't know if you're the same, where you're just like really into gathering, and then you just like, right, I need to just like have a moment to appreciate what I've got.
I think that
Uh,
moment comes when I run out of
really,
money.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That too. That
Yeah.
too. Yeah, yeah. I think with this one because I can like with you, you've got quite a lot on display. I ran out of space
Okay.
for them, and so like this is a very small selection of some of the ones I really like, and I sort of put them in and out. But I don't have much more space yet. It's not that I don't have space, but I don't have because they all have to be stood up and get the
Well, look,
stands for
they
them
have
and
you need to
have
look
them a
up
certain way.
Vaulted and you need to look up because I'm
Yeah.
not sure if I think they ship to the UK, but it's called Vaulted and
Okay.
they have Display Geek. I believe Display Geek
Okay.
has
It's
some.
like
Yeah, so they have these things that you can hang up on the wall, and they have slots
ah,
where you
yeah,
can
yeah.
put the cards when they're in
I have
slabs.
seen those.
So yeah,
Yeah,
it can get ridiculous. They give you
yeah,
space. Hmm.
yeah, yeah. That's it. I just need to figure out because so that's kind of what stops me after a while because so many of them are just, you know, just like this, are just in top loaders
Ooh,
and just loads of cards, and I've
that's
just got
beautiful though.
piles and piles. I got piles and piles of these,
Is that an
and
Arbok? Oh my gosh.
oh yeah, the
Ah, the
dark
buck. Yeah.
arbor. Yeah, it's just endless, like endless vintage cards.
Dang. Oh
And
my
it's yeah, it's
gosh.
just
That
there's
brings back
tons and
so
tons and
many
tons
memories.
of all the classics. But yeah, I've just got piles of these, and that's the problem is they're just kind of sitting, and I'm like, I need them. I need
So
to
it's funny. I
appreciate them.
work
I
for
need
this
to know.
company named Drip, right? And what happens is they do bounties where they have people rip open card
Sure.
packs, and based off of the card that they find, they get a bounty. Like they get $500,
Yeah,
$1,000. So
I got you.
it's you know Drip?
No, I don't know drip, but I understand what you mean. Yeah,
Yeah, Drip Shop Live. So it's almost like card betting, and I love it. I don't ever
that's
do it,
cool.
but it's nice watching it. It's nice being able to, I guess, make graphics for them. But Yeah, it's huge now. Everything like after
Mm.
COVID became a hustle, and people started
Yeah.
realizing the collector world was something that has so much money in it and so much
Yeah.
power that it's no longer a hobby, it's an industry. And that's a
Oh, it
reason
is.
that's another reason why this podcast is very vital for me because a lot of people want to talk about we're just hobbyists, but no, we have kept
Yeah.
entertainers, creatives have kept this world going, whether it's you're watching our movies, you can call us nerds all you
Mhm.
want to, but we entertain the world. Like everything
Yeah.
that you watch has come from a nerd. Everything that you like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, everything that you revere has more than likely come from a nerd. So it's the tides are turning pretty much. And it's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
nice to capture you guys and put this in history because you're a
That's cool,
professional
man.
and it's nice to
I
hear
like
from
that.
professionals.
Yeah, no, it's just yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, it's really nice just getting to chat to collectors or other people that appreciate design and designers and things like that. I always just because a lot of my friends they don't they're not designers,
They're
you
not
know.
into it.
They
Yeah,
work just yeah, or just yeah, just not into it. Like I've got a few friends that are like really into this kind of stuff, but then a lot of them just not. They got their
yeah.
own things they're into, but it's not it doesn't completely align. And so sometimes you just like you just want to nerd out. You
Exactly.
just want
Exactly.
to
You want to
nerd
talk
out,
about it. You want
talk
to
about
nerd
it.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to
Agreed.
nerd out and just appreciate each other's collections and
Exactly.
different things. So yeah, I appreciate different things like this, and I enjoy talking to like-minded people for sure.
So the next, I guess one segment I want to do in the future is if you remember MTV Cribs. I'm not.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
so I would
absolutely.
love to do like a Cribs version of like
Oh
people's
yeah, that would be
collections.
cool.
That would
Oh
be
yeah,
awesome. That
that'd be
would be
so good.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that would be really good. Yeah, I mean that's kind of, the next stage for the collection is
Yeah.
like I was saying, how do you display it?
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at right now. Like this was the first thing I thought of, and I really like how it's displayed there, but it's just like, how do I display the rest of it?
Done
So I
deal.
can enjoy it and appreciate it. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Well, again, I feel like I'm gonna hold you up for another 3 hours. So let me go ahead and end it right here.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I'll keep going as well. Honestly, I could keep talking about this stuff for hours and hours and hours. So we'll,
It was it was
yeah,
really nice
we'll end
meeting
it.
you, Mr. Cato. Like I
You
didn't
too,
expect you to
man.
answer. I appreciate you being as
Oh yeah,
humble
no.
as you are, as great as you are. So, I just really appreciate it. I do.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, no, I've really appreciated this as well. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about design and talk about Pokemon and anime. It's perfect. And yeah, man, hopefully when maybe when the course is put together or when I've got some of the YouTube videos put together, we can we can do another one in the future and chat
Please,
about those kind of things.
I would appreciate that.
Um and yeah, man, I'll be sure to check out some of your future episodes. I watched some of the stuff you've already put out, which
I
was which
appreciate
was
it.
really interesting. Yeah, I think it's really cool. I like what you're doing, man. I think it's cool. I think it's a good mix of guests and types of people you're trying to get together and build a community. Yeah, it's awesome, dude. It's awesome.
Awesome.
But
Well,
yeah,
you have a wonderful day. You take care.
thanks, man.
Be safe and take care.
Yes, I will do. I will do. Take care, buddy. I'll
Thank
speak to
you.
you soon.
Have a good day.